Today, Wake World Parts is bringing you the engine oil change and transmission oil change for your Ilmor engines. This can also be done with the GM Legacy Indmar engines. They also use these same transmissions in a lot of the years that they use. You will get into the V-drive systems and regular transmissions where it has a transmission separate and the V-drive separate. These ones are together, right? So you're going to have the V-drive and transmission into one unit. These are the same ones that Indmar will be using, but today we are doing the Ilmor engine and transmission. These two jobs are really easy to do, so this is going to be the beginning video for both the engine and transmission, but I will film these jobs separately. Today what we have is we have the Panther oil sucker. This is a 15 liter. The reason why I like the 15 liter is because I can do both the engine and the transmission together. I don't have to take it out, dump it, and go again. They do make a smaller version, but with these things taking 6 to 8 quarts, depending on your engine, this is the one that you really want to have. Then you're not getting in and out and doing constant dumping, right? So this one can actually be hooked up to an air compressor, or it has a manual pump tube. This is what I use. This is not the stock hose. I've actually extended it and I put a clear hose on here, which we'll go ahead and show you once we get in the boat as well. The reason why I like these tubes is, one, it's clear. Even though this one's clear, I like to see what I'm sucking out and how it's working. Once we go in there and hook this up, once you screw this into the hose in the boat, this end will go into this tube, which will then suck out all the oil. Normally what I'll be doing is, while I'm sucking out the oil, I'll be removing my oil filter as well as removing my transmission filter, because I want to get as much done as quickly as possible. That is my job as a technician. Once I get that done, as you can see, this hose has been extended. The one that it'll come with will only be about this long. It's going to be really short. I've extended it because all I have to do now is remove this tube, and this tube will go into the transmission. The oil sucker will come with about 4 different hoses. One of them is really small, so like for the V drives, where you have to pull the little dipstick out and suck the oil from in it, that little tiny tube will actually go down inside of there, making it a lot easier to get the oil out. And then you'll get all those tubes with this Panther, which will be on my website. For your transmission, you're going to need the transmission filter MV8V-1173. For this one, the only thing you're going to need is a 6mm wrench, or whatever you have. If you have a socket kit, whatever you want to use, right? So I have an Allen key, right? So I'm going to use a 6mm Allen key. And then there's a procedure to this. This isn't something that you just tighten down and you're done. There is a procedure, because the bolt is not actually going into the transmission. It's only going into the cap of the lid that holds the filter in place. So there is a tightening procedure, which we will go over once we get in the boat. The other thing I want to explain to everybody as well, as a technician, my job is to be efficient. So the faster I can go, the better I can go. But I still have to go get all my tools. I have to go over there. I have to grab all my tools. I have to get all the parts. I have to uncover your boat. I have to remove side panels. I have to prep and get ready. All of that time needs to be compensated for, especially if you do it, right? So I get that some people can do these jobs in 10 minutes or 30 minutes, but there also was 40 minutes of you burning time of getting stuff, putting it away, cleaning up, going back. And then also we have to run your boat. We're going to run your boat to temperature, because we want to make sure that when the boat leaves, even though it was here for a simple oil change or transmission oil change, we want to make sure that the thermostat is working correctly, as well as the impeller that's in the boat. If the hours are where they need to be to change the impeller, that is always a recommendation we give. But if it's not, we want to make sure that when the boat leaves here, it does not come back. So we're going to take it outside. We're going to run it to temperature. We're going to make sure the thermostat kicks in. Once the thermostat kicks in and drops the temperature, then we can go ahead and turn off the boat. We're going to let it sit for a good 5 minutes. Then we'll check your oil levels. We're going to make sure that those oils are correct. So please remember that when we're online writing these things about how efficient we are, that we also remember the time that it takes to prep and the time that it takes to clean up and cover the boat. So what we're going to go ahead and do right now is go ahead and stop the video, go ahead and get inside the boat and get ready to do the engine oil change, as well as the transmission oil change. You'll know that the engine oil is empty because your machine will start making a bunch of noise. Now what we're going to do is clean off this stick. I already looked at the oil before. This oil stays pretty good. It's going to be 15W40. This is the fill. Once we're all done, I'll show you, but you do not screw this in. You just drop it on top like that. You do not screw it in, you drop it, and then you check its level. To remove the transmission filter, it's a 6 millimeter. You're going to take your 6 millimeter right here, and all you're going to do is turn it. Now my oil sucker's in the way, and I'm trying to do this with one hand. You can also move your stuff around and not be in the way of yourself. So we're going to move this over while that continues to suck oil. Then we're going to come right here, put my 6 millimeter in, and turn it. Now that we have loosened that up, you can take this off. You can see I'm doing this with one hand. So it has a little cap, a bolt, and then you're going to remove that. Once again, I'll show you, but this does not screw into the transmission. I'll take my Allen key here. I don't put a lot of pressure because I don't want to ruin the threads. I just do it to move the lid out of the way. So as you can see, the threads do not go through. It's simply smashing down this O-ring. And then that sits inside of your oil filter for the transmission. What I'll do here is I'll pull it up and kind of just set it here for now. And I'll let that drain because I'm still draining the engine oil. The dipstick tube is right here. It's also where you drain it and where you're going to fill it. It's going to be right in there. Okay, we're still sucking oil, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and suck this oil out. So there we go. Now you can hear the machine. That means there's no more oil in the engine, so now it's trying to suck air. It's basically telling you that it's all done. We're going to go ahead and disconnect this and move on to the transmission oil. Now, as I stated, I'm now going to take this same oil sucker and now what I'm going to do is pump it a couple times because it's got oil in it, right? I don't want it to fall out. And now I'm going to take this tube and I'm going to take it and stick it directly into the transmission. Now there is a little hole in there. So there's the hole that you're going through for to suck the oil out. But as you push the tube in there, you're going to feel a little galley and it's going to slip into the galley. So you want to make sure that you're all the way in. We're going to go ahead and pump that right now. Normally what I'll do now is while I'm sucking out the transmission oil, I can change the filter or I can go ahead and start putting some oil in the engine. Once again, I'm going to do about 4.5 quarts and I'll check it and then I'll add more oil if needed. Now we're ready to go ahead and take out this oil filter. If you don't want to get your hands dirty, you can use an Allen key and a rag. We're now going to go ahead and take out our new oil filter. I did forget to mention that you will need a pick. And the reason why is the old O-ring that you need to remove is on there pretty tight. You're not going to just get it off with your hands. You'll get 2 new O-rings. You'll slip the new O-ring over. Now this filter can only go in one way. As you can see, it'll press in, but it won't go in on this side. So it only goes in one way, like that. And then now it's just going to sit in that compartment. Because I'm trying to get the O-ring to seat properly, I'm going to clean out any oil that sits right here, because I want it to get tight and stay snug. So once again, that bolt does not go through this. It just sits in here like that. You're going to take your new O-ring, put it on. You're going to take this lid. As you can see, it says loosen, pull, tighten, push. So what I want to do is take this little flap and start as far over to the, if you're looking at it this way, to the 12 o'clock position, right? So I want to get it as high up as possible. Make sure that's seated in there all the way. Put that on there. So now the goal is to tighten this down with your Allen. Now, as I tighten this, I want to get it as tight as I can over here, and then I'm going to slowly pull this, which I already did a little bit, and it already got tight. And then now you just want to pull on it and make sure you cannot turn it. What that's doing is it's taking the O-ring and smashing it out. So as you turn it, it's collapsing it and pushing it down. This is now only holding itself with the O-ring against that area of where it's sitting. This is in there. It's not going to come out. It's tightened, and I can't turn this. If you tighten this down and you grab this and it just spins, it is not tight, and oil is going to spray out. From here, we will take our funnel, and we're going to go ahead and fill this with oil. Now what I'm going to want to do is just check this. It takes about 4 quarts of oil to fill the transmission. So what I'll do is I'll set my rag right here. I'll take the funnel out so I'm not leaking oil everywhere. I'll take my dipstick. I'll drop it in. And then I'm going to check it. Right now, I'm only to the very tip of the dipstick. Take your funnel, put it back in, continue to fill it with oil. You do not want to overfill it. I mean, with the transmission, it's okay because it's only rotating gears. It's not actually like the engine that's building compression and torque and horsepower. It's not the same. It's just spinning gears, and the gears just need to stay lubricated as much as possible. For the video, I'm going to go ahead and do it a couple times here just so you guys can see. So the first time I checked it, I'm like, okay, I don't have enough oil. So I'm going to set this back down. Grab my dipstick, drop it. Once again, I do not screw the transmission dipstick in. And check my oil level. Right now, I'm right at it. Just right at that second line. That's perfect. I could leave it there. I don't have to add any more oil. I'm going to screw it in, and that transmission is now done. After I change your oil, I like to come in and write a couple things on the oil filter. I'm going to write the date, and I'm going to write your hours. If I wanted, I can write the dealership. Oh, I got a little sloppy there. It's Cal Custom. And I can write my name. If you know you're good at your job, you'll always fill this out. Because if you did it right, you'll have no problem putting who did the work, when you did the work, and then also the hours helps just in case you forget to note it in the work order or give it to the customer. They now know when the last day they changed it and the last hour was. If you want to do the transmission, you can. It's a little trickier, but you can label that. And then it's 0.5 hours. And I'll come back up here and I'll put hours. And that's going to be your engine and transmission oil and filter change. Once again, I still have to run the engine, let it sit for 5 minutes, check the dipstick, and top off accordingly. Do not just put 7 quarts in an engine because it says 7 quarts. You want to make sure that you do not overfill the engine, or all you're going to do is make it work harder. And it's going to take longer for it to get up to speed or get you out of the hole, especially if you're in Tahoe in California, you're up in those high altitudes. The harder that engine has to work, the harder it is for you to get on plane. So make sure you're always double checking your oil levels before and after you're done changing the oil.